I wasn't going to share this story publicly. It's personal. It's painful. And honestly, I didn't think anyone would care. But after telling a few friends, they said you have to share this. Other women need to hear it. So here I am. My name is Alara, I'm 58 years old, and 3 years ago a stranger in a grocery store saved me from losing everything. I'm sharing this story for 3 reasons. 1. If you're in a marriage where something feels off, trust that feeling. 2. Small acts of kindness matter more than you know. And 3. It's never too late to start over. If even one person hears this and it helps them see the truth about their own situation, then sharing my pain will have been worth it. This is about 40 minutes long. Grab some coffee, get comfortable, and let's begin. An old woman grabbed my arm in the grocery store. Her fingers were ice cold, like she'd been standing in a freezer for hours. And her grip? Stronger than you'd expect from someone so frail. She leaned in close, so close I could smell mothballs and something else, something ancient. And she whispered 6 words that would save my life. Don't touch the snow tonight. I thought she was senile, just another confused elderly woman. I smiled politely, paid for her groceries, and forgot about her. That was my mistake. Because the next morning when I looked out my kitchen window, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Footprints. Deep footprints in the fresh snow, leading from my gate to every single window of my house. Someone had been there, watching me, studying my home while I slept, completely alone. And if I had shoveled that snow like my husband ordered me to, if I hadn't listened to that strange old woman, I would have erased the evidence of the crime that was about to destroy my entire life. But before we continue, I need to know something. Have you ever ignored your gut feeling about someone and later regretted it? Just type yes or no in the comments right now. Because this story is about trusting those feelings, even when they come from the most unlikely source. Let me take you back to that day in December. I was standing in line at the checkout of our local grocery store, clutching my worn tote bag to my chest. Outside the windows, a blizzard was sweeping through the streets. December had turned out to be especially snowy this year. 58 is the age when you stop running around supermarkets looking for sales and start going to the familiar place near your house where the clerks know you by name. Ahead of me right at the register, a hunched-over elderly woman in a faded shawl was fumbling around. She poured loose change onto the counter from a tattered wallet, counting the coins with trembling fingers. On the belt lay the most modest of purchases, a loaf of bread, a carton of milk, 3 potatoes, and a small onion. "Ma'am, you're short," the cashier said wearily. "You're short about $1. "How can that be, baby?" the old woman muttered in confusion, sorting through the coins again. "I counted at home. I counted everything." Behind me someone sighed in annoyance. The line was growing and people were in a hurry to get home out of the bad weather. I looked at the shrunken figure of the old woman, at her hands red from the cold, at her cheap groceries, and something tugged inside me. "Candace, ring it up with mine," I said, handing a $20 bill over the old woman's shoulder. "I'll pay for it." "Oh honey, really you don't have to," the old woman flustered, turning around. "I'll just put something back." "Don't worry about it, ma'am," I smiled warmly. "It's nothing, not even worth mentioning." The old woman raised her eyes to me. I involuntarily shuddered. Her gaze was strange. Piercing. Her eyes were not old at all. They were clear, deep, as if they saw right through me, straight into my soul. The woman was small and fragile, her face furrowed with deep wrinkles, but in those eyes shone some unusual power, an ancient wisdom. As she grabbed my sleeve I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Her hands were covered in scars. Old scars. Like she'd lived a hard life. And there was a faded bruise on her wrist, barely visible under her coat sleeve. At the time I didn't think anything of it. But now. Now I wonder, had someone tried to hurt her too? "Thank you, daughter." The old woman scooped her purchases into a worn plaid bag and her voice trembled with gratitude. Your kindness will not be forgotten. It will come back to you. I shrugged, paying for my own groceries. Chicken for a stew, vegetables, bread. Vernon was leaving this evening for another long-haul run, a week, maybe 10 days. 32 years married, and all this time I had seen him off on trips, waited for his return, cooked, washed, cleaned. Life flowed in a well-worn groove, monotonous and predictable. I had already picked up my bags intending to leave when I felt an unexpectedly strong grip on the sleeve of my old coat. The old woman stood beside me, clutching the fabric with her wiry fingers with such force that I could not immediately pull away. "Listen to me carefully, daughter," she whispered, leaning in very close so that I could feel her breath. "When your husband leaves for the night, do not touch the snow in the yard. Do you hear me? No matter what he tells you, do not shovel until morning. Let the white lie untouched." What? I blinked in confusion, trying to understand the meaning of these strange words. What snow? "Do not touch the snow until morning," the old woman repeated slowly, distinctly, as if hammering every word into my consciousness. Her fingers gripped my sleeve even tighter, almost to the point of pain. "Promise me, this is very important. Your life depends on it." Believe an old woman. "Yes, okay, I agreed mechanically, freeing my arm and involuntarily stepping back. My heart beat anxiously. I felt uneasy from that intense, almost hypnotic gaze. "I won't shovel, I promise." The old woman finally let me go. Nodded slowly as if satisfied with the promise. And quickly, surprisingly agile for her age, walked out of the store, dissolving into the snowy whirl beyond the glass doors. I watched her go, then shook my head, chasing away the strange sensation. The poor old woman must not be all there, I thought. Those scars on her hands. That bruise. Maybe she wasn't just warning me. Maybe she was saving me from her own past. But here's what I want you to think about. There are two types of people watching this right now. Type 1, you've been through something similar, you know this pain, you're nodding along thinking yes exactly. Type 2, you can't imagine this happening, you're thinking how did she not see the signs? Either way, this story will change how you look at your own relationships. I promise you that. The house met me with dark, empty windows and cold. Vernon had gone to the depot in the morning and had not turned up the heat. I went in, turned up the thermostat, unpacked the groceries. Every movement was habitual, practiced over the years. Vernon was supposed to return by 6 o'clock in the evening. I began to cook. Cleaned and cut the chicken, put it on to boil, chopped vegetables, took out the meatloaf from the freezer. At exactly 6 o'clock the front door slammed and the cold burst into the house along with Vernon. He walked in with a heavy tread, shaking snow from his jacket right onto the floor. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a weathered hard face and cold gray eyes. 59 years old, but he looked solid and strong. "Well, is everything ready?" he asked instead of a greeting, not even looking at me, walking straight into the kitchen. You know what the saddest part was? I can't even remember the last time he said I love you. When did that stop? Year 5? Year 10? I don't know. It just faded. And I told myself that's what happens in long marriages. The passion dies, you become roommates. That's normal, right? If you're in a long-term relationship and you felt that in your soul just now, leave a broken heart emoji in the comments. Because I need to know I wasn't the only one accepting crumbs and calling it love. Vernon sat at the table heavily. Poured himself tea from the old ceramic pot. Added 3 spoons of sugar and stayed silent. Staring at his phone screen. Typing something quickly. Never once looking at me. I caught a glimpse of the name on the screen before he tilted it away. His brother Marcus. They'd been texting a lot lately. Which was strange because they barely spoke for years. I stole a glance at him, at the profile I knew down to the smallest detail. When had this begun, this alienation, this wall of ice between us? Clean the snow this evening once it gets dark, Vernon threw out, not looking up from his phone. The driveway is completely buried. Vernon, it's already almost dark, the blizzard is bad, I started but cut myself off when I saw him raise a cold gaze to me. I said this evening, he cut in sharply. You're not a child, you can handle it. I didn't have time. The haul starts early tomorrow morning. I pressed my lips together, continuing to silently pack the containers. The old woman's words came to mind. When your husband leaves for the night, do not touch the snow. About 40 minutes later, Vernon came down already dressed in his road clothes with his heavy duffel bag on his shoulder. I handed him the bag of food. Will you call when you get there? I asked. Yeah, he threw back shortly, taking the bag. Didn't even look me in the eye. Didn't kiss me goodbye. Just gave a short nod. Look, make sure you shovel the snow, you hear, or it will drift up again overnight. The door slammed with a dull thud. I heard his old pickup truck start up and roll down the snowy street. The sound faded into the distance. I had no idea this would be the last normal conversation we'd ever have. I sat at the kitchen table, wrapping my hands around a cup of tea. It became quiet, empty, and somehow anxious in my soul. The old woman's words surfaced in my memory again. Don't touch the snow. I shook my head. Foolishness, old folk superstition. But something held me back. Fatigue crashed down all at once. The blizzard was raging so hard that everything would just be covered again by morning anyway. I decided I would not go out. I would deal with it in the morning. Vernon was already far away. He would not see, would not know. If you're still watching at this point, you're invested in this story. Do me a favor, hit that like button right now so I know you're with me. And if you want to hear more stories like this, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Trust me, what's coming next will blow your mind. I went upstairs to the bedroom, changed into an old warm nightgown and a soft robe, and lay down on the bed with a book. But I could not read. The letters swam before my eyes. My thoughts tangled, returning again and again to the strange meeting in the store. Who was that mysterious old woman? Why did she say exactly that about the snow? I got up, walked to the bedroom window and looked out. The yard was drowning in pitch darkness. Only the weak yellowish light of the single lamp by the gate showed swirling thick snowflakes. A strange anxious feeling seized me, tightening my chest. The old clock on the nightstand ticked monotonously, showing 11 at night. Vernon was probably already far away, speeding along the snowy night highway. What did he even think about lately, I wondered. We had barely spoken in recent months, years. We lived like complete strangers under one roof, connected only by a marriage license. Sleep came in snatches, restless and anxious. I would fall into a fitful doze, then wake up sharply from strong gusts of wind. I dreamed of that old woman from the store, her piercing all-seeing eyes, her dry gripping fingers on my sleeve. Don't touch the snow, she repeated in the dream again and again like a spell. I woke up early, still completely dark. I looked at the clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. Outside the window it was just starting to lighten. The blizzard had finally stopped. The silence was somehow special, dense, ringing. I got up, threw a warm robe over my shoulders, went down to the kitchen, put the kettle on the stove, walked to the window. And that's when I saw them. The yard was entirely covered in untouched smooth snow, absolutely white. But from the gate to the house, to the windows of the first floor, led clear very deep footprints. Men's footprints from heavy large boots. Definitely not Vernon's. I knew his shoes, his size, his walk perfectly well. Completely strange tracks. Someone had come to our house at night. Walked around the yard. Come close to the windows. While I remained completely alone. I stood by the window. Clutching the windowsill with whitened fingers. My heart pounded so hard and fast that it seemed it was about to jump out of my chest. I could not tear my gaze away from the tracks. Deep clear prints of heavy boots led from the very gate straight to the house. Methodically circling it on two sides. Stopping at every window of the ground floor. As if someone were carefully studying the house. Someone had walked around my house at night while I slept. Completely alone. Defenseless. As I stood there shaking, staring at those footprints, I remembered something. The mailbox. I hadn't checked it yesterday. I threw on my coat. Ran outside. Hands trembling as I opened it. Inside, mixed with the junk mail, was a plain white envelope. No stamp. No return address. Just my name written in shaky handwriting. The same handwriting from that letter I'd get 6 months later. I tore it open. Inside was a photograph. Not recent. Printed from someone's phone. It showed 2 men standing outside a building. I squinted at the faded image. Vernon. And another man. They were shaking hands in front of a real estate office. The photo was dated 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks before I ever met that old woman. Someone had been watching my husband. And that someone had just warned me. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the photo. Who was she? Let me paint you a picture of what would have happened if I'd shoveled that snow. Day 1, snow gone, evidence erased. Day 2, Vernon calls, honey, I have some news, we need to sell the house, I already found a buyer. Day 3, papers signed, house sold. Day 4, money in his account, gone. Day 5, me, homeless, betrayed, with no proof, no evidence, nothing. That was $1 away from being my reality. $1. My hands trembled. I stepped back from the window, pressing my palm to my mouth. Breathing became difficult. I needed to calm down. Pull myself together. Think clearly. The tracks did not go chaotically. They went purposefully. Thoughtfully. From the gate straight to the living room windows. Then neatly along the wall to the kitchen windows. Further to the back of the house. As if someone were methodically walking the perimeter. Carefully looking into every window. Studying something. Watching. Checking. A cold chill ran down my spine. I remembered our community officer Gareth Purnell. I had known him for many years. He was known as a conscientious, responsive man you could turn to. I quickly went up to the bedroom. Dressed hurriedly. Warm sweatpants, a thick wool sweater. Took out my cell phone, found the officer's number. My fingers were still trembling as I dialed. Officer Purnell, this is Alara Vance from Chestnut Street, House 17. Please excuse me for calling so early, but I have a very strange situation here. Good morning, Mrs. Vance, the officer's familiar calm voice came through. What happened? Last night someone came to my house, they walked around the yard, left tracks in the snow. I was home alone, my husband left for a long haul and I got really scared. I see, did anything go missing, did they break the door, are the windows intact? No, everything seems whole and in place, but the tracks, they lead right up to the windows from all sides as if someone was purposely peeking inside. All right, I'll come over right now, 20-30 minutes max. Don't go out of the house for now, don't trample the tracks and check all windows and doors thoroughly. Thank you so much, I exhaled with relief. I'll wait for you. 20 minutes dragged on unbearably long. I sat in the kitchen clutching a cup of cold tea and literally could not take my tense gaze off the window. Finally, bright headlights hit the window. I jumped up. Officer Purnell got out of the car. A tall, heavy-set man in a uniform winter jacket. Officer Purnell, thank you so much for coming so quickly, I stepped aside letting him into the house. Oh, think nothing of it, Mrs. Vance, it's my job. We went out together onto the cold porch. The frosty air painfully burned my face. Officer Purnell slowly descended the steps. Walked right up to the tracks. Carefully squatted down. Examining each print. Boots size 12, maybe even 13, he muttered thoughtfully. Deep tread sole looks like work boots coming from the gate. He slowly traced the entire chain of tracks with an attentive gaze. Straight to the living room windows. Then along the entire wall of the house to the back. Then back the same way to the gate. Very strange, who could it even be? That is indeed a very good question. Gareth heavily rose, brushing snow off his knees. Tell me, Mrs. Vance, do you have any serious conflicts with neighbors? No, what do you mean? We speak normally with all the neighbors, we live quietly, we don't bother anyone. And your husband, when exactly did he leave for his trip? Yesterday evening around 7, he left for a long haul, at least for a week. The officer slowly nodded, recording something in a small notebook. That means this person knew for sure that you remained in the house completely alone. Very interesting. Opened the gate carefully, walked through calmly, then just as carefully closed the gate back. Didn't hurry at all. Behaved confidently. Do any of your neighbors have security cameras installed? Purnell asked. I thought tensely. Mrs. Higgins across the street seems to have a camera, she installed a system last year. Excellent, that can help a lot, let's go to her right now. Possibly the camera captured who exactly came. Mrs. Higgins's house stood directly opposite. Neat, well kept, painted a pleasant light blue. I rang the doorbell. About a minute later the front door swung open. The hostess appeared, a plump, good-natured woman of about 70. Elara, honey, what happened? Is something wrong? Mrs. Higgins squinted anxiously. Mrs. Higgins, hello, someone strange walked in my yard last night. There are clear tracks in the snow. Officer Purnell came to sort it out. Can we look at the recording from your security camera? Oh Lord have mercy, the neighbor threw up her hand. Someone strange walked around at night and you were alone. Vernon is on a long haul. My God, how scary. Yes, come in quickly, we will definitely look. We walked inside into a small but very clean living room. A modern TV hung on the wall and beneath it stood a black box with blinking lights. Officer Purnell took the remote control and began quickly rewinding the recording. I froze, not tearing myself away from the screen. You say your husband left the house around 7 in the evening, Gareth clarified. Yes, around 7. He quickly rewound to 8 o'clock. Set playback to normal speed. The picture was grainy black and white, blurred in places due to falling snow but possible to distinguish what was happening. The street was empty, snow falling thick, visibility poor. Time on the recording crawled forward. 9 p.m. 10. 11. Here, look closely right here, Purnell poked his finger at the screen, 11:44 midnight. On the deserted street an unfamiliar car appeared. A regular dark sedan. Slowly drove up. Neatly stopped right opposite my house. A tall man in a dark bulky jacket and a knit cap pulled low got out leisurely. Impossible to make out a face. He calmly looked around as if checking for witnesses, then confidently opened my gate and disappeared behind it. Lord have mercy, I whispered, feeling my insides turn cold. About 10 minutes later the man appeared in the frame again. Walked out of my yard. Completely calmly. Just as methodically closed the gate behind him. Got into his car and slowly drove away. Pause, Officer Purnell commanded. He rewound back. Froze the image when the car was visible best. Here's the license plate, hard to see but I think we can make out a few numbers, and here on the side door of the car that's a logo of some company. But Officer Purnell, I said, my voice shaking, looking back at the footage, there's something else. Look at the timestamp. 11:44. But rewind to the week before. He squinted at me, then rewound the recording a full 7 days. And there it was. The same car. The same man. Same time. 11:43 at night. He'd been here before. This wasn't a one-time visit. He'd been watching me for at least a week, maybe longer. How many times had I been alone in that house while a stranger circled it in the dark? If you're still here at the 20-minute mark, you're the real one. Drop a clock emoji so I know you're with me. Because what's coming next is going to make everything make sense. Looks very much like a company car, the officer muttered. Or maybe it's appraisers from a real estate agency, Mrs. Higgins suddenly piped up. She had been standing nearby watching intently. From a realtor agency, I turned sharply, not understanding. What appraisers, Maria? Why appraisers at all? Well, I don't know exactly, maybe someone is planning to sell the house, doing an appraisal. The neighbor suddenly cut herself off, seeing my whitened frozen face. Oh, Alara, forgive me, I'm an old fool. But Officer Purnell was already alert. Mrs. Higgins, why did you think of a real estate agency immediately? Well, just an association, the neighbor hesitated. Just last month an appraiser came to me. He also arrived late in the evening in exactly the same company car with a big bright agency logo on the door. The officer magnified the image as much as the quality allowed. The writing on the side door was hard to read, but the first word could be distinguished. It seemed to be Hearth. Hearth something else. He quickly wrote this down. We definitely need to check all the real estate agencies. Find out who exactly has such company cars. I was silent, finding no words. One insane thought was spinning in my head. An appraiser from a real estate agency came to inspect my house at night. But who could have called this appraiser? The house was titled strictly to me. I had never given anyone any permissions. I was not planning to sell anything. This was my only home. Mrs. Vance, Gareth placed a hand on my shoulder. Did you give anyone an official power of attorney for your house? No, of course not, I shook my head. I didn't even think about any sale, this is my home. And your husband Vernon, could he? I felt the ground go out from under my feet. Vernon, but he cannot do anything without my knowledge, the house is fully titled to me. Theoretically he cannot, the officer agreed slowly. But in practice all sorts of unpleasant situations happen, fraud, forgery of signatures. Let's check the real estate agencies. If it really was an appraiser, we will find out who ordered this night assessment. Think about this. If I'd shoveled that snow, the evidence disappears. If I hadn't checked the camera, I'd never know who came. If Mrs. Higgins didn't have a camera, no footage. If the car didn't have a logo, we'd never trace it. If I hadn't paid for that old woman's groceries, no warning. 5 ifs. 5 things that had to go exactly right. One thing goes wrong and I lose everything. Do you understand how close I was? By lunchtime we were sitting in the office of Hearthstone Realty in the city center. Gareth Purnell had found 3 agencies with similar logos, called them, and in the third one they confirmed yes, their appraiser went out to Chestnut Street yesterday evening. The agency director, Isaac Graves, a man of about 40 in an expensive suit, met us with a faint politeness that poorly concealed his nervousness. Please have a seat, he pointed to the leather chairs, how can I help? Yesterday your employee went to 17 Chestnut Street, Purnell began, taking out his badge, appraised a house, we would like to know the details. Chestnut 17, Graves frowned, opened a folder, leafed through. Yes, correct, order for an appraisal of a private house, what's the problem? The problem is, I leaned forward trying to speak calmly though my hands were shaking, that this house is mine and I did not call anyone for an appraisal. The director raised his eyebrows. How is that? The order is filed in the owner's name, look here. He turned the folder around, showed a document. Vance Vernon Michael, client owner, Vance Alara, there's a power of attorney from the owner. What power of attorney? My voice broke, I gave no power of attorney. Graves blinked in confusion, dug into the folder, took out another sheet. Here please, power of attorney from Vance Alara, authorized spouse to represent interests in real estate transactions, notarized. He held out the document. I grabbed the sheet, drilling into it with my eyes. My name, passport data, address, everything was correct. At the bottom a signature, my signature. But I had not signed this, never. It's a forgery, I whispered, feeling the room swim before my eyes. I did not sign this. Officer Purnell took the document, studied it carefully. Mr. Graves, when was this power of attorney brought to you? A week ago. Vernon Vance came in person, said he wanted to sell the house, asked to conduct an appraisal, we processed everything, agreed on a site visit. He said his wife was aware, she just had no time to deal with it. And you did not check the authenticity? The officer looked at the director. It has a notary seal, everything is required. Graves squirmed. We are not required to verify every power of attorney, that's not our job. Show me all correspondence with the client. Purnell cut him off. The director nodded, went into the computer. I sat staring at one spot. My head buzzed. Vernon, my husband, forged my signature, wanted to sell the house without saying a word to me. Look here. Graves turned the monitor. First contact 2 weeks ago, he emailed, asked about appraisal and sale, we set up a meeting, he came, brought documents, we drew up a contract, the appraiser went out, inspected the house. At night, I inserted dully. At 11 at night while I was sleeping. Well, the client requested evening time, said someone is there during the day and he needed it unnoticed. Graves spread his hands. What happened next? The officer nodded at the monitor. After the appraisal we compiled a report, the house was valued at $420,000, Vance agreed, asked to find a buyer, we posted a listing. When, I interrupted. This morning, and a buyer has already responded, a serious man ready to pay cash immediately, we set up a meeting for the day after tomorrow. I covered my face with my hands. The day after tomorrow. 2 more days and the house would have been sold. But here's what I didn't tell you yet. Remember I said the buyer who was ready to pay cash? That was Vernon's brother Marcus. They were in on it together. The plan was to sell the house to his brother for $400,000, split the money, and then his brother would kick me out. Family. His own family was helping him destroy me. Officer Purnell wrote down information. Mr. Graves, the deal will have to be cancelled, a criminal case is being opened regarding fraud. But we have nothing to do with it. Graves jumped up, we worked in good faith. We will sort it out. For now give me all documents, copies of correspondence. Half an hour later we walked out of the agency. I walked like I was in a dream. Gareth supported me by the elbow. Mrs. Vance, you need to sit down, there's a diner over there. We sat at a table. The officer ordered me tea, coffee for himself. I wrapped my hands around the hot cup but could not get warm. The cold was inside. I want to tell you what happened in the car after we left that office. Officer Purnell was driving me home. I was silent. Just staring out the window. And then it hit me. All of it. 32 years. I cooked his meals. I packed his bags. I waited up when he was late. I nursed him when he was sick. I gave up my career, my dreams, my whole life. For what? So he could forge my name and sell my home. The sob came out of nowhere. Loud, ugly, uncontrollable. I couldn't breathe. Purnell pulled the car over. Mrs. Vance, he said gently. I can't, I gasped, I can't do this, it's too much, it hurts too much. He just sat there. Let me cry. Didn't try to fix it. Didn't tell me it would be okay. Just waited. And after 10 minutes, I wiped my face and said, okay, I'm ready. Let's finish this. I'm going to pause here for a second because this is important. If you know someone, a friend, a sister, a mother, a coworker, who's in a marriage where something feels off, someone being controlled financially, someone being told they're crazy for being suspicious, send them this video right now. Pause and send it. Because that person might be one warning away from losing everything just like I was. You could literally save someone's life by hitting that share button. Don't wait. We spent several hours at the police station. I wrote a statement, explained, answered questions. Officer Purnell described the footprints, the camera recording the agency. The detective, a young woman, wrote everything down. We will summon your husband with a subpoena, she said, when does he return from his trip? He should be back in a week, but I can call him. No, the detective shook her head, don't warn him, let him think everything is going according to plan. I agreed, walked out onto the street. It was already getting dark. Gareth walked me to the bus. You hold on, he said, I know it's hard right now, but you did the right thing. Thank you, I shook his hand, if not for you. Come on, it's my job, he waved his hand. You should say thank you to that old lady who warned you about the snow, miracles honestly. I sat on the bus, leaned my forehead against the cold glass. The old lady, how did she know? I remembered her eyes, piercing, seeing right through, her dry fingers on my sleeve. When your husband leaves, don't touch the snow. If I had shoveled the snow, the tracks would not have been visible. I would never have known. And in the morning new snow would have fallen and everything would have been covered, and I would have lived on not suspecting that the house was being sold out from under me. Those scars on her hands, that bruise, maybe she wasn't just warning me, maybe she was saving me from her own past. 2 days later Gareth Purnell called. Mrs. Vance, your husband returned, we detained him this morning when he arrived at the depot, interrogation is underway, do you want to be present? No, I answered firmly, I don't want to see him. Understood, then I'll tell you the main thing, he confessed to everything, says he got into debt, slot machines, lost a large sum, creditors were threatening, decided to sell the house, thought you wouldn't find out. 3 days after his arrest I got a call from the detention center. Vernon wanted to see me. Every part of me screamed no. But I needed to look him in the eye. I needed to hear him try to explain. They brought him into the visiting room in an orange jumpsuit. He looked smaller somehow. Older. He sat down across from me. Wouldn't meet my eyes. Say something, I said quietly. Anything. He was silent for a long moment. Then, Elara, I'm sorry. That's it? I leaned forward. 32 years and that's all you have? I was desperate. He finally looked up, his eyes red. I owed money. Bad people. They were going to hurt me. So your solution was to hurt me instead? To steal my home? To leave me with nothing? You could have told me, Vernon. You could have asked for help. We could have figured it out together. He shook his head. You wouldn't have understood. Try me, I said, my voice breaking. But he just sat there. And that's when I knew. The man I married was gone. Maybe he never existed at all. I stood up. Goodbye, Vernon. I walked out and I never looked back. The trial went quickly. Vernon got 2 years probation plus an obligation to pay me compensation in the amount of $5,000. The divorce was finalized a month later. Vernon moved in with his brother, took his things while I was not home. I specifically went to a friend's to avoid seeing him. When I returned, the house was empty. Half the closet gaped with empty shelves. On the wall a light spot where his photograph had hung. The first weeks after the divorce were strange. The silence in the house was deafening. No one slammed the door, no one demanded dinner, no one grumbled. I walked through the rooms and didn't know whether to rejoice or cry. But slowly I started to rebuild. I got a part-time job at the local library. I joined a group of women my age, we went to concerts, cafes, talked. I signed up for drawing classes. I planted a new flower bed in the spring. And for the first time in 32 years I felt like I could breathe. One morning about 6 months after the divorce I got a letter. No return address, just my name and address in shaky handwriting. Inside was a single sentence. I knew you'd be okay, you're stronger than you think, a friend. I still have that letter. I don't know if it was from her, but I like to think it was. Now here's where people always ask me, why did you call the police? He's your husband of 32 years, you should have talked to him first, worked it out, given him a chance to explain. And to those people I say this. He had 32 years to talk to me. Instead he forged my signature and tried to steal my home. But I want to hear from you. Was I too harsh? Should I have given him another chance? Comment below. I'm genuinely curious what you think. Before you go, I need to tell you 3 things. First, if this story helped you in any way, if it opened your eyes, validated your experience, or just gave you hope, hit that like button. It takes 1 second and helps this reach more people who need to hear it. Second, I share real stories like this every week, stories about betrayal, survival, and starting over. If you want to hear them, subscribe and turn on notifications. Click that bell because next week's story, it's even more unbelievable than this one. Third, comment below and tell me, where are you watching from and what's one thing you learned from my story? I read every comment and sometimes I feature them in future videos. Oh, and one more thing. There's more to this story that I haven't told you. What happened when I went back to that grocery store and asked to see their security footage from that day? What I found in the old woman's envelope besides that photo? And the phone call I got 1 year later from a number I didn't recognize? A woman's voice. Older. Familiar. She said 3 words and hung up. You want to know what she said? That's part 2. But I'm only making it if you really want it. Comment part 2 if you need to know. And comment what you think she said. The closest guess gets pinned. Here's what I learned that I want you to know. Check your county property records monthly, it's free online. Set up alerts for any changes to your deed. Never give your spouse power of attorney without a lawyer reviewing it. Keep copies of all important documents in a location they don't know about. Have your own bank account they can't access. I'm serious, do this today. Pause the video if you need to. Protect yourself now, not after it's too late. I paid $1 for her groceries. She gave me back my entire life. Never underestimate the power of kindness. The snow didn't just hide footprints, it revealed the truth. Sometimes God uses the strangest things to save us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the universe puts people in your path exactly when you need them. That old woman, she was mine. Maybe this video is yours. I'll see you in the next story.